Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Soul Goals Podcast. I'm Dawn, and I am so glad you're joining me. This podcast is dedicated to bringing people's stories to light and hearing their journeys of both inspiration and self-growth. It's also about connection, though, and knowing you are not alone. Every week, I get the chance to sit down and talk with an amazing soul, somebody I've had the blessing of either meeting or following in my life. I am so very grateful for my guests and their openness and their vulnerability as we share real and heartfelt conversations and stories together. I hope that you can find some inspiration for your day, just as much as I've been able to by hearing them. Everyone has a story, and every story matters. Welcome to another episode of the Soul Goals Podcast. My name is Dawn, and I am so happy to be bringing you another awesome guest I have the privilege of speaking to today. Luke and I, is this way? This way. It's this way. I always get my camera messed up this way. Luke over there to your right. He and I go like way back, like way back.
Yeah.
Like to kindergarten, actually.
Unfortunately, yeah.
What do you mean, unfortunately?
You're old now. It's like,
Okay, if you're old, then I'm like dirt old. So, I mean, whatever. But like my oldest daughter and you went to school together from kindergarten through senior year. Yeah. We got to know Luke and his family super well, adore each and every one of them. And my husband and I only have two daughters. So when we kind of got to know Luke, we're like, he's going to be our third kid. Like our surrogate son. But I would wager to bet that my husband's probably more like he would say, yeah, he's my boy. Yeah. He's my boy. He coached you football for
not many youth football coaches you still text at least twice a week. So that's all I'm going to say.
That's it. You guys would text. Yeah. And you're still texting each other, which I think is amazing. And I have no idea what that's all about. I don't I don't need to know what that is. Right? You're a 20-year-old college dude. I don't need to know what that is, but all right. Without further jibber jabber on my part, I'd like to introduce to the group one of the most inspiring young men at the ripe old age of 20. Right?
20.
Yes. Yay. I'm so glad you're here today. I'm so glad that you are that you agreed to talk to me and give your story. How's your week been? Good.
I'm pretty busy, but I'm happy to be here. Honored to be on this podcast. So I'm excited.
Oh, I'm excited too. Yeah. Imagine, and I'm just going to jump right in because with us being close to you for all of those years, I mean, I know you're super tight with all your family members as well, but I imagine all of our shock when you were just getting ready to turn 16 and you were diagnosed with testicular cancer, like something that's super rare for somebody your age and an active, no issues, no precursors, no nothing. Most people don't associate cancer with a healthy adolescent teenage boy who's playing basketball, who's active, who's going out, getting ready to get your license. I mean,
yeah.
When did you first know that something was wrong? What was the first thing that came up for you?
Like weird, but I was like going to the bathroom, like normal occurrence. And I was like going and I was like that. I felt a little bump down there and I was like, that doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
And so like I kind of did a little research on my own for a day or two. And I was like, could just be a cyst. I was like, says it'll go away in a few days. So I really didn't think much of it. And then I eventually got to the point, it was like a week went by and I was like, all right, I was on the way to school with Mom. And I was like, I don't know how to put this in a like delicate manner, but I pretty much told her, I was like, there's a bump down there. I don't know what it is, what it's about. And then we kind of went from there.
So you're in the car with your mom, your 15-year-old boy, something's up with like your private area.
And she automatically thinks the worst too. I
don't know any mom that doesn't.
Yeah, no, she chewed me out for a minute. And I was like,
Oh, so what was after she chewed you out, because that's what moms do, because I'm going to give her a pass because
Yeah.
that's in our handbook, right?
Mhm.
Um, what was the next thing that you did? I mean,
We booked an appointment with our family doctor
mhm.
uh, in Old Hickory, and I went there before school, and he was like, "Yeah, you could have a strain or something like that." And they gave me, I forgot what medicine they made me take, but I took that for like a week, and then um, he said it should go away, and I was just like, "All right." I brushed it off to the side, and then I woke up on a week later, week and a half later, like on a Sunday morning, and I was like aching. I was hurting, and I couldn't get out of bed. I was hurting, and I
Oh,
was like,
wow.
called mom up, and I was like, I've got to do something. Like I
Yeah.
can't. So we booked an appointment. I think the ultrasound was first. I think that's
Mhm.
what we did first.
So did cancer cross your mind?
No, not even a little bit. Because I mean, you see those commercials growing up, like of the kids with cancer thing.
Hmm.
And I think for someone, especially like me, like it just like that thought doesn't even cross your head. Like it's one of those things you're just like, you don't just look at it and brush off, but it's, you know what I mean? It's like, it's not even in here. Like I wasn't even thinking that. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't even know when we went to our first appointment, that's what we were going for until we got there.
Okay. So you didn't know. Did your family know, or did your doctor suspect it?
I think my mom and my aunt knew. So yeah.
Okay. So they suspected it.
Yeah, but I don't think they wanted to tell me
Right.
because
That's
I was
understandable,
so young and um
because you were 15.
yeah, I didn't think they wanted my anxiety to get the best of me there.
Yeah. So things moved really fast for you, obviously.
Incredibly, yeah.
I mean, once you became diagnosed, like, what were some of those feelings? What are some of the things that you went through over those first few weeks? I mean, you had so much going on. You
Um,
had, port placement for treatment, blood work, tests upon tests. I mean, deciding to shave your head. I mean, so many things that I remember went on in this very short period of time.
yeah. Well, what a lot of people don't know is it was the first time they found the tumor and I got it removed,
Mhm.
and I was good for like I think it was a month or two. And so like that, the initial reading was shocking, but then I had
Yeah.
surgery to get it removed. And then I was like, they were like, you're good. And I was like, okay. Like I did, it's kind of one of those things like freak
Yeah.
things and brushed it off, kept playing basketball. And that was going to be a big summer for me, recruiting wise. That was
Mhm.
kind of when I finally started getting some looks that I wanted and had some stuff I wanted to do that summer in terms of going to play in some big time tournaments and routine checkup. Went and got scanned, did blood work, and went back to school. Didn't think anything of it, and I get a call, or I come home. My mom's waiting on me, and she tells me that they found a tumor in my abdomen,
So
and
like in your lymph area, in your
like
abdomen.
an enlarged lymph node,
Okay.
and
And
yeah.
they were concerned about that at that point.
I think at that point they knew.
Okay.
They
So that's when I was putting the car before the horse there. That's when everything started picking up
that's
for
what
you.
I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Shot downhill. So
Yeah. So talk to me about that doctor's appointment where you had to go in and they told you, this is happening. This is what we're going to have to do. This is the direction we're going to go in.
when we after we got the call and we went in,
Yes. Yeah.
I think I was still a little bit in shock. Um, we had a great medical team with us at Vandy. They were
Mhm.
great. They were awesome. So they knew how to deal with it. I mean, they're very professional. So I mean, that's what they do for a living. So,
Yeah.
but both my parents were pretty emotional, so they kind of just zero in on me and kind of because I never really showed too much emotion during that time because I was still like, this is like a dream. Like, I'm like, what is it? My body felt so like it was so light. I was like, I just didn't feel real.
Mm-hmm.
But, well, they talked to me and said, they said, we're going to put you through chemotherapy. And, that's when I kind of figured, I was like, this is kind of the real deal. Like, there's no playing around now. And they told me the plan was to do 3 rounds. So in for a week and do chemo all 5 days of the week. And then for the next 2 weeks, I'd come in once a week and do chemotherapy for like 2 or 3 hours.
Okay. Yeah.
And repeat that 3 times.
So tell me about, you talk about both your mom and your dad. I mean, you're super tight with your family.
Mm-hmm.
What did you do through that process, or what did they do rather to help you through that process when you're hearing that news for the first time, when you're getting that information, when you're sitting there saying, okay, this is a protocol. You're going to be hospitalized for a week. You're going to be giving chemotherapy for 5 straight days. And you had just turned 16 years old.
Yeah. They were always there, always around. Even then, sometimes when I didn't want them to be, they were still always there. I mean, that hospital room always had somebody in it, you know.
Yeah.
But no, they were great. Especially, I mean, not knowing what to do because this is something you're not supposed to be prepared for.
Right.
So it's no, it was definitely an experience. I mean, they were, like I said, there was always somebody staying with me. Mm-hmm. I constantly had at least 2 people in the room with me at all times. But
that's huge. That's huge because that speaks testaments to the support system that you had around you. Mm-hmm. That's amazing. Yeah. I would assume that helped you on all the levels, mentally, emotionally, physically.
Yeah, it definitely did. I mean, because those the times in the hospital room for those 5 days, I mean, to this day, those were the longest days of my life because you're not sleeping because, I mean, they're flushing you with chemo and the whole point is to get it in and get it out. So they're flushing me with water. So I'm constantly getting up, going to the bathroom. Even then you can't sleep. So, I mean, just having somebody with you the whole time is great. Keep you company and be with you. But I mean, yeah, those were some long days. Just watching.
What'd you do to pass that time?
Many visitors, and then I mean, I would try to sleep. Never really worked out. Play some video games when I was that age. That was that's pretty much it for the most part. I mean, you're laying back on your back and just looking up at the ceiling. I mean.
Yeah. And you were at Vanderbilt Children's Hospital, right? In Nashville. Mm-hmm. And you said they were a great medical team. How did you, it's not home, right? Yeah. It's not your home bed. It's not your home space, but tell me a little bit about your interaction with the medical staff. How were they with you?
They were awesome. We had a team of nurses who'd come in every day, every couple hours. And, you know, I mean, you're eventually going to get to know them when you see them every 2 hours. But
do you still talk to any of them?
I'm not sure if we do. I mean, when I go back, I see them. So when we go back there for tests and stuff, we see them still. But no, they were great. They definitely made it a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. So they were awesome.
You said those were some really long days, obviously. What was one of the lowest points for you when you were there? Or maybe I should say describe a day.
You're constantly like awake and I know that was my big thing is like, I couldn't sleep. I would take melatonin. I would take whatever just to knock me out and let me get at least, 10 minutes of sleep would have been nice, but because you're constantly, it's flushing in and out. I can't go to bed. Like I can feel, and that it's kind of like when you get sick, like with a cold, you wake up from sleeping and you feel awful because you get like sick while you sleep. You know what I mean? It's one of those deals. So my big thing was I was awake the whole time so I could physically feel my body getting worse. like I could just in slow increments, just all the while being awake, I could just feel it. And I was like, that's when it got bad. And I was like, because the first couple of days were fine. And like the first couple of weeks were okay. They weren't perfect, but like the second time I went in, I was like, I can feel like this is where it gets serious.
Yeah.
And I was like struggling bad. I was throwing up constantly. And then like I remember I had to go to the bathroom, and I like trying to get out of bed, and I like put both my feet on the ground, and I couldn't push up to stand up on my own. And I was like, I kept trying, and like I eventually like was falling up, like trying to get up and falling over. And I was like, that when you need help to just stand and do humanly activities like normal, I mean, that's when I was like, I mean, this is no joke. I couldn't even like barely hold my head up, all that kind of stuff. So that was probably the worst day. That was when that all kind of hits you.
Yeah. And what do you do mentally at that point? I mean, I would imagine it would be super easy to just say, to go down a spiral.
Yeah, it does. It's you definitely. My mental health at that time definitely wasn't at the best. It should have been. So it's one of those things like you're like, why is this happening to me?
Yeah.
Like what did I do that was so wrong that this is brought upon me? And I know I hit the point where my faith kind of wavered a little bit. I definitely was mad.
Yeah.
And thought God was punishing me for something. And I don't know. It was a very, very humbling experience. Very humbling.
Yeah. I remember coming to see you in the hospital, and then I also remember when you were out, when you were out, you were able to come out on the boat with us. That was one thing that we always used to do.
Mm-hmm.
On the lake, we tried to pull your arms off of your torso by tubing you around as fast as possible.
That's still scarred from those memories.
You're scarred. Forget the cancer. You're scarred from tubing with us. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I remember walking in and looking at you and going, I can't, the same kind of thoughts for me. And I imagine that everybody that walked through that knew and loved you were like, why is this happening to him as well?
Yeah, it was a culture shock, definitely. And I mean, everybody knew me before that. So, I mean, I was some little 6'2", 140-pound kid. And in the span of, I mean, maybe 2 months, I got up to, I think I got up to about 220.
Dang. Okay. From what? What were you?
It was about, I was like, I mean, at that time I was probably like 160. I think I was 160, 165 when I first went in. Because I was skinny. I was a little wiry kid.
Yeah, no, I do remember that. But like you gained to over 200.
Yeah, well over. They because my biggest thing, I was already skinny going in, and so their biggest thing was we don't want him to lose any more weight.
Right. Okay,
we don't want him to get to that point, so they put me on a steroid, and I mean that I shot up and got real puffy in a span of 2 weeks. I mean 2 to 3 weeks. I'm putting on weight and putting
That's
on
so
weight
fast.
And for me, I was like, my goal all my life was to put on weight for basketball. I was like, this is perfect. Like I'm putting some weight on. Like but then it gets to the point where I'm just like, my face is so. There's a picture I always show my buddies, but like that's where I'm smiling. But like my face is so like big, and it's like see my eyes are not. You can't even see my eyes, and my mouth's like just it was unlike anything I've ever seen.
When you look at yourself in the mirror when that was happening? I mean, you talked to us a little bit ago about your faith wavering.
Yeah.
I would imagine that would be another whoa kind of moment. And
yeah. I mean, it got to the point where like, I mean, we would obviously, they some people in the community, like we would have like someone do like a mass in honor of me or something else like that. And then I got to the point where I was like, man, I don't even want to go to this. Like, this is like, I'm like the big guy and I got some struggles going on right now. Like, this is
Yeah.
to the point where I'm like, this is stupid. Like, I'm pissed off and
Yeah.
I don't want to do this right now. And we had like our priest came to visit me in the hospital, talk to me about how God is going to save me and how, God puts his strongest warriors through the toughest battles. And I was like, and I remember at the time thinking, I'm like, this is a load of crap. Like,
I don't buy that. Yeah.
I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid. Like, but I mean, it was one of those deals. And I think it took that experience to help me grow stronger in that faith. And, once it was all over, it definitely helped me.
When do you think that switched for you? Because I mean, as you've explained, you've had multiple moments of going in and out of that.
Mm-hmm.
Why me? Why is this happening? What the hell? This isn't, I don't like this. This isn't, what did I do to deserve this? All of those things. When did it switch for you to go, okay, I'm going to lean in and I'm going to trust and I'm going to get in line with what I knew I need?
Yeah, I think I've had a few of those.
Okay.
Like,
what's your most memorable one?
When I talked about it way. I mean, the initial response to the day I was cancer free, that's first day you're like, all right, I'm back in. Like, he's protecting me. Like, this is his plan and I'm going to stick to it. And then, your faith wavers. I finally get, kind of back healthy. I'm getting back in the swing of basketball. And, the biggest thing for me was I felt like I'd lost my identity. Like, I don't, not my identity, but for 3.5 months, that was my life.
Yeah.
And that was every day. I'm either going to the doctor or waking up in the hospital. Like, that's what my life was for the longest time, for as long as I could think back to at that moment.
Yeah.
And, now it's like, oh, hey, you're going back to school. Like, you're going back to being a high school student. You're going back to playing sports. Like, I'm just like, you're kind of like, it's a lot coming at you quick. I tried to just hop right back into my life. Like, just didn't think I could skip a beat. And I struggled. Like, basketball was a huge struggle. And I came in like 215, out of shape, hadn't touched a ball in 3 months. I could finally gain some of my knees back and I could put some weight on my knees and run around. And, I got to the point where season came around. I'm still not great, but I'm in denial in my head, telling myself, hey, I'm ready to go. I'm good. I'm amped up. I'm like, let's do this. Like, I'm thinking in my head too, like, I've got coaches I'm sending film to from last year. And I'm like, I took a hiatus. I'm ready to go. Like, and then you get there and you don't play. Then you're like, I got in and stuff, but I was a liability. Like, I couldn't do anything. I couldn't move the way laterally I wanted to. And I couldn't move the way I could. And, I just eventually my playing time fizzled. And that's when I was like, this is because of what I've done the last 6 months. And that's when my faith starts wavering again.
Yeah.
And, you're like, oh, this is a load of crap. Like, this is my identity. And I go back to the identity thing like that. When I got back to basketball, I was like, I'm back in my element. Like, this is my identity. This is who I am.
Okay.
And so I felt like I had lost that.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, and so I definitely hit another low point with my faith and going to an all Catholic school. I mean, that's tough to do because. Yeah.
And been an athlete since you were little.
Yeah. I mean, that's all I'd known.
Whether it's baseball, football, basketball, and then you went on to play basketball for Red Hot Second in college before you decided to transfer. Yeah.
So then, like you said, the second time, I at the end of junior year before COVID and all that happened, my head coach and my strength coach sat me down. They're like, hey, we're going to we're going to get you back into shape. Like, we're committed to get you back to where you need to be. And I was like, all right, like and at this point I was ready to quit. I was like, I'm done with ball. Like, this is it for me. I'm just going to coast it out and do whatever I want to do. And they're like, no, like you're not, like, I'm not letting you quit like this. Like, we worked too hard for you and you've worked too hard for yourself.
Yeah.
And, I kind of strapped in that summer, and people, like, I've been asked, like, what was harder? Like, what was the cancer, like, the hardest summer you had? And I said, no, this is the summer after.
Wow. Yeah.
I'm working my tail off every day.
Yeah.
Multiple workouts, getting back into shape. And, I finally dropped down back to 185. And I came in because of COVID, we can't see anybody, like, you're by yourself. So I was doing this with my dad every day. We'd go in and do it, and we get the job done. And the day we could finally show back up on campus, showed up, and my strength coach didn't even recognize me. That's when I was like, all right, like, he works in mysterious ways.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So it's kind of made me stable. And I think that definitely shaped out who I am today.
Well, it shows you just how resilient you are,
Mm-hmm.
and what you're capable of.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, your body went from one thing to another thing to another thing.
Yeah.
And how reliable your body is,
mm-hmm.
and how you can lean on your faith to get you through that too. Mm-hmm. I think it's interesting because you're obviously not the only one that faith wavers on. There's so many different people that could sit here and say the same exact thing for whatever their circumstances or situations are. But I think it's really interesting for me to go through that story with you, because there's so many of these. It's a hilly road.
We never had a steady point, really.
No, you didn't.
Constant movement. Yeah.
Constant movement. So how are you now?
Good now. I mean, I'm living the dream now. I'm
okay.
I've done my time, I would say. I'm kind of just, and like you said before, I had my sprinkle of college basketball, and I honestly think to this day, giving that up and coming here, going to school and just being a student, I think for me, it was the best thing I've done. And a lot of people say differently, but I think
other people don't matter. It's really what matters is how you feel.
And my biggest thing was, like, my senior year, I had a really good senior year, and I attest that to the Lord and my hard work. And I think when I got the offers I wanted, and it's an exciting time. You're going on visits, you're doing this, you're doing that, and you're talking to coaches, and they want you, and you're like, oh, it's a fun time. I've always said the recruiting process is the most fun I've had in a while. Like, that was, especially going through that time, it was fun. And you get there, and I'm like, I really was kind of out of it. My knees are shot to this day. I mean,
really?
The lasting effects that has on you, the chemotherapy, I mean, my knees are awful. They're pretty bad, but
wow,
it's, I think when I decided to leave the school I was at previously, I came at peace with myself, telling myself I had nothing more to prove. I'd proved what I needed to. I proved I can play at this level if I needed to, if I wanted to. I proved that I could come back from this, and it wasn't going to defeat me. And I proved that, my hard work, I'm relying on God. I proved I can do that. To not myself, to other people as well. So
I love that, Luke. I think that's really invaluable. That's really, really a good perspective. And I don't think a lot of 20-year-old kids can say that, or 20-year-old, I shouldn't say kids, 20-year-old young men can say that they have the ability to look back and go, I understand. Mm-hmm. I know this about me through this experience. Mm-hmm. And if you hadn't have gone through that experience, you wouldn't have known that.
No.
Yeah. Would you say that that's one of the biggest blessings for you through the whole thing, or is there something different?
No, I would definitely say that it shines some light on my thoughts, and it helped me like I keep going back to the identity thing. Like I said, that was my identity. That's who I was. My whole life was devoted to basketball. My whole life was this, that, this, the other. And so when I stepped away, and I had a bit of an identity crisis because I'm like, what do I do now?
Yeah.
And so now I'm still developing but I'm getting to the point where I have my own identity. Like, this is who I am. This is what I'm about. Like, I'm not just Luke, the basketball player who had cancer anymore. Like, it's definitely something that's still a part of my life, but I'm trying to, get to the point where I have my own self, my own identity in this, and I'm not defined by what happened to me in the past or who I was.
Right. Exactly. You're not defined by it. It's just a part of it's a season of your life.
Mm-hmm.
Like basketball goes through a season.
It's a chapter of my book.
I love it. It's a chapter of your book. Absolutely. Where are you now in terms of having to be checked? What are your doctors saying for you in your future? What's the timeline of doctor's visits now? You're out of it for the last 3 years now?
I think I'm out of it for 5 years now.
Oh, let's go. Come on.
Yeah. So now I'm at a 6 months blood work, and then every year are the scans. So I had my scans about a month ago. So
and everything's good.
Everything's clear. I'm good. I'm coasting.
Good. That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Before we kind of wrap it up, I like to a lot of times we get into kind of some deep subjects. Obviously, we got into some deep stuff today. I love rapid fire questions, and I love you because you're so cool and you're kind of a big deal. Like, that's another phrase that we always have. I go back to the lake thing just because I got to share it because it makes me smile. I remember the first time you being on the tube and I was driving the boat. I had to turn around and look. It's like, are you ready to go? And you're like, let's go. I'm kind of a big deal here. I love it. I love it. So kind of a big deal. I'm going to make this a little lighthearted. I'm going to ask you some rapid fire questions. And
I'm ready.
Yeah, just for fun. I would imagine though too, and I wrote this question down. I didn't even really think about it till after I sent it to you that it's probably pretty poignant for your situation that you went through. Do you have a bucket list? And if you do, what would the top 1 or 2 things be on it?
Let's see. I mean, right now, I think going to a Super Bowl would be really cool. That'd be a pretty cool thing to do. And the other thing, I mean, I'm really into golf right now.
Okay.
So I mean, every golfer's dream is playing with Tiger Woods, right?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
Oh, that'd be sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Next one. What's your favorite holiday?
Holiday? Mm-hmm. Christmas. Easy. It's Christmas.
Okay. And what's your favorite holiday movie then?
Oof. Christmas Vacation.
I love it. Like, is there one specific that you like more than the other?
What do you mean? There's a multiple Christmas Vacation?
There's an old one. God, I told you. Talk about I'm older than dirt. It's like
Chevy Chase one. Yeah.
So it's the one where the cat climbs a tree it's where the squirrel comes out of the tree.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. Confusing me, man. I was like, what? Am I stupid? I was like,
you're not. No, it's me. It's old dirt brain right here. Okay, here's another good one for you. If you had to change your first name, what would you change it to?
Probably Rex. My dad.
Rex?
Yeah, my dad wanted to name me Rex when I was born after a Kentucky point guard, Rex Chapman. So,
how fun.
Yeah, when he told me that growing up, I was like, dude, that's awesome. I was like,
why would you name me Rex? Yeah.
I was like, why would you name me that? So I'd probably say that.
Okay. And dude, this is the best one. I love this one. What is your best non-curse one-word insult?
Oof, there's a few. I mean,
there's a few.
I mean, you got some in the book. You're like, man. I think one I use a lot is like dork. Like if you're called a dork, like it's kind of like wow. Like someone calls you just a straight up dork. That and like nerd. Like if you're just called a nerd, I don't know. I'm like, oh, okay. Like thanks.
Whoa.
Yeah, those are probably 2.
That's good. And then my final one, and this might get a little deep and I don't want you to get mushy about it, but maybe you will, maybe you won't. Who's your hero?
My hero. Aside from like the obvious answer of like my dad or my grandpa, those two guys, I would definitely say probably Pat Cunningham. Probably so. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Are you serious?
I mean, yeah, definitely.
Oh, Pat Cunningham that's my husband. I can't wait to play this for him. He's
definitely been a huge father figure in my life for me. And been a part of a huge part of
yeah, he loves you. I know he adores you. And I know that you guys y'all are tight too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty
fun. Son that we didn't have. He's like the godfather. All right. Well, Luke, I love talking to you anytime. You can look, and you can call me a dork anytime too. I don't care. I'll just let it roll off my back. It's okay. And you can also say, I'm kind of a big deal anytime.
I still say that to this day. I mean,
do you really?
It's I took it from Anchorman and I'm still using it. So
it's great. Yeah, I think it should be your trademark.
I should look into that.
Yeah. Let's look into that for the next time we talk. All right. Thank you so much, Luke, for being a part of my day. Love you. Appreciate you. Thank you for being vulnerable.
Yes, ma'am. Love you. See you.
Have a great one, guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. If you have an idea for an interview or you would like to share your very own story, shoot me an email at dawn@thesoulgoals.com. I hope that today's guests and their words have led you to find a deeper space of your very own soul goals. Until next time, friends, remember that everyone has a story and every story matters.